Hello, hello, dear aspirants. Am I audible to everyone? Hello. So, all right. So, I'm just hoping that I'm audible to everyone. That is no issue regarding that. So, yes. Hi, Annie John. So, hi. So, like always, we'll wait for a few more minutes for the other aspirants as well to join the session. So that, hi, Alameen. So yes, I think it's been like 7 days or something, almost like 10 days or something that I last took a session. I was not well. I was under the weather. I'm not sure whether that was coronavirus or something, but I was really unwell, and my fever was just fine. But I had other symptoms like cold and cough. I was mostly lethargic, and I didn't have the energy to even get out from the bed. So I was totally bedridden. So that's the reason why I didn't have any live session for the past few days. And I'm sorry for the aspirants who waited for my classes. So I'm fine now. It Me and my daughter, we both were contracted, and we didn't test for the coronavirus, but we did go to the health center. We actually went there, and we just thought, if they want to take a test, let they take the test. But the government health center, but they just gave us a few antibiotics instead, and cough syrup and all the other medications for me and my daughter. We both were unwell, and it took us quite a while to to be better, and she's still under antibiotics, and it's not over. I think it's 5 days antibiotics for her. The problem is that we waited for a few days, and then only we went to see a doctor. So one caution of word or advice for everyone is that as soon as you feel like you're not well, just go see a doctor immediately, because since we are in between this pandemic, this whole situation, so we don't know what we are dealing with. So it might be just a common flu, or just the common virus and all, but it's better that we go see a doctor or a physician. And we went to the government health center. So yes, so hi Rahil Hussain. So yes, students are joining us. So we'll wait again for a few more minutes. And I wanted to take a live session yesterday, but even yesterday I wasn't well, and I knew that I cannot just keep on speaking for more than 5-10 minutes, like continuously. For those reasons, I kept the class for today. And again, just a piece of advice, okay? Whenever I'm setting class for live sessions, try to join as early as possible, because as the students get delayed to join the class, our class will also be delayed to start. So that's the reason why I'm just asking you all to just as soon as you get the notifications, get into the link and watch the video. And I think we should just start on with the class itself. So the previous class, I think it was on Monday, last Monday. I started with the macroeconomics, but we had other issues as well, the buffering, the whole network problem, and also I was pretty unwell. So today, I think we'll just start off from the beginning, and I think I went on to few slides as well. Till here, I think I went on. So for the sake of other students as well, I'll just start on from the first. That is for your civil service pertinent. We have macro and microeconomics, but the most majority questions that will be asked for your civil services will be from your. Hi Tulasi. For your civil services will be from the macroeconomics, because see, the government or the UPSC is not bothered about what individual concerns regarding the economy will be. For example, I as a person, my name is Ashwati Alex, and the government is not concerned what Ashwati Alex's purchasing power is, what is my annual expenditure, what is my annual or monthly revenue that I'm getting, and the other fiscal deposits, and other and how far I'm unemployed. Yes, they are concerned about how far the unemployment rate is there in the larger spectrum. So as a general term, they are bothered, but they are not bothered what A's concerns or what B's concerned are. But they are taking into consideration the totality of whole of it. So for those reasons only we have macro. As the name suggests, macro, and micro is minute or minuscule. So micro is dealing with individual level or individual organizations. Macro is general category. Hi Roshni. Hello. Okay, so macroeconomics dealing with the general assumptions of the nation. So that is what macroeconomics is all about. And here the definitions are: macroeconomics looks at the economy as an organic whole. They are not bothered what a single individual's purchasing power is, a single individual's spending power is, or what they are incurring for the expenditures and all. So they're all dealing with the total output, the total demand, total aggregate income, total savings. For example, I am a manufacturer of specs, okay, just common specs, spectacles and all. So, if I am just a single individual, the government is not going to look into, okay, what is, for example, my name is ABC Spectacles. So, they're not concerned what ABC Spectacles total output will be. What they want to see, what is the total output of, or what or total expenditure of all these categories of whole spectacles. For example, not just one category of company, but many companies and many factories who are creating or manufacturing spectacles. So that is what they are concerned about, and that is what the total output, the total demand, the aggregate income, not just one single person's income, but person as a whole. The whole community's income are taken into considerations. How we have the gross domestic product, that is the GDP and GNP and all. So it's all about gross and all. So they don't want to see what individual are bringing to the table, and total investments, total employment, rise and fall in general price level and interest rate. So this is just a basic understanding, and what is written in the slide is just a basic understanding of what macroeconomics is all about. And this is just a pictorial diagram or a schematic representation of what macroeconomics represent. So that is national output, national income, unemployment rate. For example, I am unemployed. Government won't be directly, answerable to me, but to a whole section, that is, for example, in the year 2023, suppose the unemployment rate goes up to probably in 30 or 40%. So that will be a serious concern to the government, but they are not concerned if what is whether XYZ is getting proper wages, or he is being daily bread. So that is not what they are concerned. They are concerned what the totality of the rate, the percentage output, and the inflation rate, and everything, the big picture of it. So that is what macroeconomics is all about, and study is what is happening to the economy as a whole, the economy in large, the macroeconomy. A macroeconomics principal task is to try to find out why overall economic activity rises and falls. So if you have remembered, I think it was in my second economics class, if you have seen the class, that is, for example, if the all of a sudden we find that the onion price is 10 rupees today, but tomorrow it will be 100 rupees. So these specialists, that is the economics, is going to find out what is the reason, what are the factors that led to such a huge rise in price, what happened all of a sudden. So we know the reason, it's all because of the demand and supply. And I'll just quickly go through the concept if you haven't seen, is that um, uh, I really hope that you have seen the video. For further clarifications, watch that video. But I'll just quickly just go through it. That is, for example, if I am a farmer, and one day I start cultivating potatoes, and suppose nobody else is cultivating, and I am the only person who's harvesting, and but the supply, but the demand will be constant. People will be demanding 10 potatoes, and I'll be the only supplier to give the potatoes. So what happens? The demand will also start increasing. So because of that reason, other farmers will be saying, okay, now potato as a product is very much in demand in the market. For those reasons, we'll do something. We'll also start cultivating lots of potatoes. So what happens? When the supply increases, demand will fall, and even the price will fall. So that is the reason why one day it is 100 rupees, next day it will be 2 rupees. So it's totally fluctuations in the market. So these economists are totally concerned about why all these rise and fall of price, demand, and supply here in the market. It's not just about the market that we are talking about. Why all of a sudden total, the purchasing power of people decline? For example, if you're talking about, no, no, see, thing is that it's not just about For example, if your optional is economics, you need to have postgraduate level of understanding of economics. But for all the GS papers, you need to have only the graduate level, only the UG level of understanding of everything. So, UG level of understanding of economics is more than enough. That's more than sufficient. But if economics is your optional subject, you need to have, extra knowledge, as a master knowledge. So you need to have the PG, the postgraduate knowledge for your optional subject. So yes, so they are concerned about why all of a sudden everything stock market fell down. For example, we are going through recession because of the corona driven and many other factors are there. Mainly the corona pandemic reasons. So because of the lockdown and everything, it kind of stunned the economy. So that in a way sort of like led to a dominoes effect, one affecting the other and that affecting the other. And we could see lots of job laying off, people were sent off from work. Reasons is why, because they are not in a position to afford lot many employers under them. Yeah, absolutely, Rahil. So for those reasons, so one led to the other, and that led to the other. And what happened when people are being sent off or being laid off? What happens? Their purchasing power will automatically decrease. When purchasing power automatically decrease, this will have a total or a direct impact on the price, supply, and demand as well of the market. So that is what. So everything is interconnected. And once you get the concept of everything, this will be so much easier. And it's all of like comparing and relating into it. So yes, so same way also we can see, we have noticed that the stock market also did fell and plays a major role in determining the overall levels of production, income, employment, and price. And uh, yes, so this is just a brief understanding of what difference between micro and macroeconomics is all about. Micro, as the name suggests, is minuscule amount or mini amount, like micro, small. Macro is huge, macro. So micro is just concerned about the individuals, but the macro is about the national, whole of a nation. For example, macroeconomics of India. And micro is could be microeconomics of, for example, Kalyan Jewelers, or microeconomics of Mr. ABC. It could be a single person or a single institute. It's just a single entity is being considered in microeconomics. But macroeconomics, same, for example, gold. We are not taken into consideration of what Kalyan jewelers are incurring. We are taken into consideration what whole gold manufacturers or gold sellers are incurring as their revenue or expenditure. That will be taken into considerations. And in here, in microeconomics, analysis the demand and supply of labor. Yes, because why? The Kalyan Jewelers, for example, same one. Kalyan Jewelers, as a single person, for example, I am the owner of Kalyan Jewelers. So I have to, depend upon the supply and demand only. I have to, appoint new laborers. If I'm not in a position to pay my like salesman or my laborers, sometimes I'll send them off, or if I need additional people. For example, this is the festive season, Akshay Tritiya, festive season. So what happens? I need more laborers. So depending upon the demand, I'll be having lots of laborers in me. Here, macroeconomics analysis total employment in the economy. That, like I said, is not just talking about Kalyan Jewelers, whole of the gold. I'm just giving with specific of an example. Okay, for example, gold. It's not necessarily gold. It could be anything. It could be mobile phone or headphone or just spectacles or anything. I'm just giving a category example. Yes. And here they are just talking about the entire employment of the whole gold manufacturers or the whole gold factories or the gold sellers and outlet retailers are here, the whole of nation. So there the employment rates are taken. And here microeconomics deals with households and firms decisions. For example, I am an individual and I was sent off from my job. Reason is they are not able to, probably I'm not a very skilled person or my talents are not very good. So what happens, that will directly affect me and my family and my purchasing power and my lifestyle. And also same thing for a single institution or a single firm. For example, a single school. Okay, it's a school, for example, one a school name ABC. The school had probably a disaster management happened. For example, earthquake happened and school, the property or the construction was totally mishap. For those reasons, that will be affecting the schools, the whole of it as well. It's not just consider the institution as a single person. Okay, so the the firm's decisions or the institution decisions are whatever it's being happened to them, only they have to suffer. Just because they had earthquake and their building collapse, it doesn't mean that somebody else, a different school, will also have to suffer. That's a different case. So microeconomics is individual level, but over here deals with aggregate decisions. For example, the farm laws or the farm bills that we are having, uh, that is totally affecting the whole farmers of the nation. It's not just about Punjab or Haryana, the whole nation, and it's going to be, affecting everyone to a large level. So that is an aggregate decision. Or tomorrow, a new rule comes that schools are not allowed. No private enterprises are supposed to start a school by themselves. Only the government is authorized to have schools or primary schools. So what happened tomorrow onwards? All the private schools, they will run out of the business and they will have no other means to survive. So that is an aggregate decision and that will be affecting the whole category as such. And here studies individual prices, here studies overall price rally. For example, if I'm a single person, same example, I am selling spectacles, my institution or my organization's products will be its price, its revenues, its expenditure, and all the other factors of input and output will be taken into considerations. But here it's different. That is, here it's not just concerned about Ashadi Alexis company spectacles. They are concerned about spectacles produced by whole of the nation's factories. Each and every single factory is producing spectacles. Their factors of production, their input factors, their output factors, everything will be taken into considerations. And here analysis of demand and supply of goods. Here analysis and aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Here, same example, if I said, for example, I am the farmer who producing the potato. The same example I'm saying. Okay, I'm not just going about the details. I'm just giving you the detail. The example I know you'll remember. So, for example, I find that okay, the other person garnered lots of revenue from harvesting lots of potatoes. So I'll also do that. So it's totally dependent upon my demand and my supply. When I sell it, my product will be getting lots of demand and supply will be affected according to that. Here it's not that. The whole of potatoes, the whole of nations are taken into considerations. And here the definitions of macroeconomics. One thing is that your mains considered economics as a subject. It's very good that you use your own terms and use your own language, but majorly for economics, what we have found is that it's better that you use all these terms used by these economics. So they have their own like aggregate and factors of production, factors of output. For those words, use the same terms itself. And if it is possible for you, try to by heart certain definitions, which will be used. For example, macroeconomics, if you just study or by heart the definitions, you can use it for any other questions related to it, not just what is macroeconomics. Any other questions related to, you can just state it. And it's better that you study all these total aggregates, such terms. And for example, consumptions, you cannot say used or levels of consumption. Instead of the word, you can use levels of being products used or levels of products being eaten. You cannot use that. So certain terms are there and it is fixed. It's only for economics that I'm talking about, and to a certain level geography also. But rest of the subjects you can use your own words and your own sentences. And macroeconomics, it's from the Greek word that is large and like we all know, and performance structure, behavior, decision making of an economy as a whole, and rather than individual markets. This includes national, regional, and global economies. And macroeconomics concerned, that is, what are the key aspects or the key dimensions of macroeconomics that is dealing about unemployment, inflation, output growth, and all these are interrelated. For example, what happens of inflations when everyone have their for example, everyone is rich and prosperous. What happens? People are in a position to buy it and they have lots of salary, they have the purchasing power. What happened? The supply will be limited. For example, in a year there will be having just 10 numbers of oranges. Suppose 100 people have lots of money. So what happens? The supply will be same, but the amount, the salary that they having, the people's purchasing power will be more. So what happens? Inflation. They started to raise the amount of the oranges. Before it was 1 rupee. Now they charge the price to 1,000 rupees. Why? everyone have their purchasing power for those reasons. And yes, that is also related to unemployment. What happens with unemployment? The opposite of it would happen is the price will go down and the output growth, that is supply and demand will grow. So everything is totally related and interconnected here in economics. And first one is unemployment refers to situation wherein a country do not find work to earn livelihood. For example, if I cannot say I am unemployment. I am unemployed. Why? At present, I don't have a job, but I am not unemployed. Why? Because I am not going out to search for a job. I am at my place. For example, if all these housewives that we are talking about, they are not going out to search for a job, so they are not unemployed. Unemployment means when people are looking for jobs and they don't have the jobs. That is what unemployment is all about. Okay, don't confuse that. So unemployment represents the ratio of labor force which fails to get unemployment. Like I said, I don't have a job, but I am not unemployed. Why? Because I am not going out to search for a job. I'm right here preparing for civil services, so I'm not unemployed. I cannot even say I'm employed. I am not at present working. So that is what you have to use. And currently, 40% of concerned population is unemployed. And unemployment rate is a key indicator of economy's health. And existence of unemployment seems to imply the aggregate labor market is not in equilibrium. That is, we have lots of schemes and policies by the government. That is, this MGNREs and all these prime ministers schemes and policies in a way to ensure that you will be given jobs. Jobs is also sort of like a social security. And problems of unemployment is that classical economists believe in full employment, and that is all resources of economy are fully employed, but there is no possibility of unemployment. But Great Depressions of 1930, and yes, so this is, and inflation is an increase in overall price level. And one more thing about unemployment I would like to point out is that uh, there's another term called disguised unemployment. For example, a family of 10 people, just a village family, okay, they are comprising of 10 people, father, mother, and their own kids and their own wives and children. So they are 10 people, and they have a 5-acre plot or 5 cent plot, and they are cultivating that. But ideally, the land or the work requires only 2 people. But what happens over here, since there are 10 people are into the same place, because why? They don't have any other job. So that is disguised unemployment. We think they are employed, but they are not employed. Why? Because they are not working to their fullest capacity. Only 2 people are required for that single, whatever that plot of space is required. But lot many people are there, and for those reasons only this disguised unemployment is being said. And inflation is increase in overall price level, and hyperinflation is period of very rapid increase in overall price level. Hyperinflation is a rare phenomena, and it's not that our economy is very good, but there are instances in which we are dealing with inflations, but it is pretty much impossible to get into hyperinflation. Why? Because we have many systems and committees like RBI, we have financial committees, and all these financial commissions. So they are there to ensure that what happens, these markets are there. The government induced ways, in a way they could try to curb the inflations. So, for example, the same example I said, there are just 10 oranges, and 100 people have 100 rupees with them. So what happens? What the government will do? They'll start to, increase the rates for loan. Increase the rates, for example, uh, the opposite that I'm talking about. For example, I took a loan for 10 rupees, and the loan interest was 5%. But since I have more purchasing power, the economy of the nation have more purchasing power. You know what the government will do? The RBI will do? They'll increase the percentage. Probably they'll make it 8%. And also with the savings, also they'll reduce the percent. Before, when you deposit 5 rupees, after 2 months we will be getting 7 rupees. The interest rate will be high. But since everyone have purchasing power, the government will reduce the interest rate of savings. Probably 5 rupees after 2 months will be just 5 rupees 25 paise. So there are ways, in a way, that government can and interfere and reduce inflation to a very level, and deflation is the totally opposite. That is a decrease in overall price level. Prolonged periods of deflation can just damaging for economies as sustained inflation. That is what happens when everything goes down. Everything goes down. The problem is that there will lead to disparity. That is, for example, just in a hypothetical situations. Okay, since we had the lockdown, I think for 2.5 three or 4 months, if I remember. I'm sorry if I'm getting wrong in that. We had the lockdown. Suppose the lockdown wasn't taken off by the government. Still, the lockdown is continuing. What happens? The economy will degenerate, and since we are already in recession, it will further deprive the economy of all the power. What happens? These high class people, there always will be having money. So these rich people will be more richer, and the poor people will become more poor. So the disparity will largely increase. And yes, so these are just example. And output and growth refers to the change in level of economic activity from one year to another year. Growth means poor and developing countries wish to attain a rise in national income and per capita income. And one thing about growth and development is growth is just increase in numbers. For example, our GDP increase in growth, but that is not an essential indicator of development. For example, if there are 10 people in an economy, 10 people are there, and three people are having high income, or three people are having lots of revenues, but the other seven people are below the poverty line. But still, since these three people are having high revenue, the total the number being given by them, the total GDP given by them, reflected by them, will be very high. So that is just the growth. So is that development? No, that's not development. Development is overall development. For example, here in Kerala, that is a very good example. I could say the disparity is very much slow, and the whole share of the GDP of Kerala wouldn't be very much high, but the totality, as in if we just look into it, there is no much higher differences or disparity or contrast in each one. So that is development. Overall development is what development is, and growth is just reflecting in numbers. And aggregate output is the total quantity of goods and services produced in the economy in a given period. And aggregate output is a main measure to see how well the economy is doing. And every year it will be taken into consideration to see, it will be taken that and compared to the base year being taken. For example, the same spectacles, this year's total revenue, the turnover will be taken and compared with the last year's turnover of the spectacles or any other product, as for say example. And with that, the comparison will be drawn, and then we'll be saying that whether the growth was there, or it was negligible, or we declined. And problem of growth is that it is of great concern for economists that what should be the level of rise in investment that the economy can achieve its desired level of income and employment without inflation and deflation. So that's, I think we should say that it's a very tricky part, and it's very hard to maintain and sustain both prosperity and also just because we are prosper, what happens? Supply will be very much constant. So that shouldn't affect the inflation. And what happens when the government intervene and reduce that? It cannot go to deflation as well. So it's sort of like a pressure point. So we have to find out that such situation will result in full utilization of resources, and the equilibrium of the economy is what our economy or the government is trying to achieve. Full employment means maximization of output and employment in presence of existing resources, while growth is attached with increase in output and employment. Yes. So, nature and scope of macroeconomics is a study of the same definition. I don't think I have to just keep on going about the same thing and all. So, the scope of macroeconomics is as a method of to understand the working of economy. Why do we need economy or macroeconomy for a nation? For example, the people that formulated, they cannot just keep on giving us policy and schemes. It has to be dependent upon something. Some information or data has to be provided to them, and only then the government could implement. They could give subsidies, or they could levy more taxes from high income people. So a marker has to be there, a level playing, or some way it has to show an indicator. For those reasons only, macroeconomics is there and very much important for a nation. And this is just pictorial representations: theory of national income, theory of employment, theory of money, and theory of general price level, theory of economic growth. And these are, the importance, or why the macroeconomics is very much important for a nation. And we as future IAS officers, you cannot just sit there and formulate policies and all. So we need to have the basic understanding of what economics is, and what demand and supply, and what is the scope of all that. And only then we can formulate and come into a certain conclusions, and come into certain ideas and ideologies. And national income, and that is, for example, we have lots of confusion that what is GDP, what is GNP. For example, we have outsiders coming and working here in India, and we also have other foreign companies also here. Same way we have NRIs, that is these non-resident Indians in other nations and working. And so what is that? How do we do that? So what is to be taken? Do we deduct that? Do we add that? So only if we know that, only that will be helpful for the computing of what GDP and GNP is all about. And economic growth, the same. I think these are just points that I already discussed. That is to have the growth, to have a certain level of development. That is, we as a nation, we are still developing. And initially we were called as underdeveloped nation, but we are now a developing nation. It's been changed, the term is being changed. So the reason is that for us to know whether we are developing, we are falling down, or we are back in the schedule. So for all the reasons, macroeconomics is very much important. And monetary policies and problems, that we are saying that, the frequent change in price. For example, one day the potato will be 5 rupees, tomorrow it will be 10 rupees. So understanding of all that. And in business cycles, that is from B2B. Like we say, or talking about the individuals also, the business enterprises, they also have businesses within one business enterprise to the other. So even for them, for themselves only, this macroeconomics is very much important. And for understanding the behavior of individual units, that is, unless we don't understand the whole aggregate concept, we cannot go in and deep and understand all these things. For example, we cannot compute each one's income. Probably there are 500 lakh or crore people here in India. It is not possible for us to take each one's all these factors into considerations and study. But having the whole understanding, and from that we can going or specializing or focusing into each spectrums or each categories, that will be helpful and easier for us to do about in the economic spectrum. And key economic macroeconomic variables are GNP, GDP, and employment. So these are the important concepts and aspects of it. And today's class is that the reason why these is just a general understanding of what macroeconomics is. A student, an aspirant, asked me through WhatsApp that what is macroeconomics, what is the basic understanding of it. So I thought before getting into the important aspects, I should just give you what macroeconomics is all about. And only then, the promise of macroeconomics, the reason why macroeconomics is taken, the reason, the analysis part, only then it will be, it will enable us to understand everything to a larger depth. So that is the reason why I'm, giving into all these points and all. So, where is it? Yes. So the first one is gross domestic product and the GNP. That is, whatever we have two categories, that is within the domestic territories and outside the domestic territories. I think most of us have learned this in, if I remember, in ninth or 10th standard. For your board exams, it will be asking about GNP and GDP is. So GDP refers to the monetary value of all the finished goods. And example will be that, for example, wheat. Wheat as a product is a finished product for a farmer, but wheat as a product is an intermediate product for wheat powder or atta producing company, or these Ashirwad companies. For them, it will be an intermediate product. And for a restaurant, or for half baked chapatis and all that we get, rotis and all that we get, for them also these powders will also be intermediate. So we need to know what is intermediate and what is finished goods. Why? Because we cannot, each time we cannot add the same product. Same product is going through different process, and just because it went through different process doesn't mean that they are different. No, it's just one single product. One single wheat went through a process and became powder, and went through again a process and became a roti and all. So that is also had to take it into consideration, that no double counting is done here. So that is what here that we are talking. The main concern of GDP is, and refers to the monetary value of all finished goods. So that is the reason why only the finished goods. That is, we are not taken into consideration what is atta powder or the wheat cereals and all parts. That is not taken into consideration. Or the end product that we get, what is that? The half baked rotis and all. So that is only taken and counted for the GDP. And services produced within the country's borders in a specific time period. That is the boundary of the India. And specific time period is 1 year. Okay, through GDP is usually calculated on an annual basis. That is, every year it is calculated. Why? So that only then we can, compare and contrast and see what has to be done for the next time, and what are the necessary measures to be given, so that it would. Okay. Yes. So it includes all the private and public consumptions, government outlays, investments, export, less imports, what occurs within a defined territory of India. What happens in Nepal, what happens in Bhutan is not taken into consideration. Everything which is finished product, and it doesn't matter it is finished by private enterprises or public enterprises or joint combined. All the finished products are taken into consideration for 1 year, which is within the national territory, and is one of the primary indicators used to gauge the health of country's economy. And depending upon that only we see whether the economy is thriving or it's going down, it's withering away. And then we have national income. It's the total value of all goods and services produced within a nation over a specific period of time, representing the sum of wages, profits, rents, interest, pensions, payments to residents of the nation. It gives correct picture of the economy and purchasing power, people of the country. The same as the name suggests, it's all about the income, the whole of the nation's income in terms of revenue or rent or interest. Interest, for example, I borrowed some money from a bank. It could be a private bank, ICIC bank, and the interest that they're getting from that is also taken as an income. So all that profit, wages, all the income aspects are taken into considerations, and that gives the purchasing power. How far the purchasing power of the nation is very good. And unemployment, yes, this has already been taken care of, and economic growth is also taken care of. Inflation, I'm so sorry if the same points is being repeated. International trade and this I'll balance of payment also. See, for example, when do we say our economy is thriving? When the import or export? What is more? We need to have more of exports, and when we have more of imports, it's sort of like a deficit over here. That is, we need to have more expenditure. And when we are importing lots of product, what happens? We're giving out our money to outside nation. So that is not very healthy for our economy. And international trade is the exchange of goods and services between the countries, and for those reasons only we have lots of international services here. For example, here in Bangalore, Pune and Bombay and all, we have service related BPOs and other consultancies and all. So they are here, and they are getting job and expenditure, they're getting salaries from the outside nation. So that is a very booming tour economy. This is sort of like we are getting our services, we are selling it off them, and we are getting money for that. And international trade allows to expand market for both goods and services. It is the reason why you can pick between Japanese, German, American car. As a result of international trade, market contains greater competitions and therefore more competitive prices, which brings a cheaper product home to the consumers. For example, palm oil, it's very cheap. We can find it in other, Southeastern Asians, and it's very cheap oil that we can say. I think in their nations it will be just 20, 30 rupees and all. But over here, it's very, the price being that we are buying for palm oil is very high. Probably we're buying it for 60 rupees, 70 rupees. The reason why is that the government knows that, the Indian government knows that. if they are importing all these palm oil, these cheap oils here to India, we will find that okay, this particular oil is very much cheaper, so we'll buy that. So there will be lots of consumers here in India for the foreign good. So what happens naturally, the domestic products, the other coconut oil or mustard oil or gingerly oil, these will lose its value, and because of that reason our money will flow to outside. Okay, so for those reasons they'll be raising the tax or the customs duty for all these imported goods and all. And balance of payment of a country is a record of all economic transactions between the residents of country and the rest of the world in particular period, and over a quarter of the year or more commonly over a year. And these transactions are made by anyone. It could just be a person or an institution or even by the government bodies that we can have. And thus the balance of payments include external visible non same one that we are talking about. It could be trade or any services. It could be just not just product. It could be I could teach the same video that I could give a Google class to a child from China. So even that is a transaction happening. It represents the summation of countries' current demand and supply of claims on foreign currencies and foreign claims on its currencies. So yes, how far we are claiming on the other, so vice versa. And monetary policy is the process by which monetary authority of currency controls supply of money, often targeting an inflation rate or interest rate to ensure price stability and general trust in the currency. We already know that a currency with reflected to the dollar is very low and it's not very good, uh, and it's already been depreciated, so that it will benefit us in the long run. And our monetary policies and our systems and committees job is to make sure that our government, for example, if recession is not because of the malpractices or negligence of a committees, we are in a recession because of corona. The main reason for recession is corona. So they are trying to way to curb the recession, or to we are in right now deflation. So they're trying in a way to bring back to a normal equilibrium state of our economy. So these policies will be, sometimes it will act as a good thing, sometimes as a bad thing. So further goals of monetary policies are usually to contribute to economic growth and stability, to low employment and predictable exchange rates with other currencies. And fiscal policy is the means by which a government adjusts spending levels and tax rates to monitor and influence a nation's economy. It is this strategy to monetary policy through which central bank influence nation's money supply. These two policies are used in various combinations to direct a country's economic goals. If you remember in history, that if you have seen history's class, there was Great Depression period, and there was in the NCRT book, I think it's in ninth standard book if I remember, there's a photo of a man, a European. He's carrying currency in huge, huge bags and all for buying a single piece of bread. So why? Because the rate of the currency or because of the high inflation. So for those reasons, why the system or the economic system during those period weren't very good. So for those reasons only the people had to suffer. So we have lots of policies and lots of committees for that. We have monetary and physical, and physical is actually for the country, and monetary with regarding to the outside, which is regarding to the foreign currencies and all. For example, the dollar that we are talking about. And interest rate is the rate paid by the borrowers and the creditors. And this is same example that I said. For example, we are in recession. So what happens? They will, increase or reduce interest rate, increase and reduce, the loan rate. Suppose in certain period when people have lots of, inflation is very high, that time the government will be saying, okay, here onwards a bank can give only certain amount of rupees as loan to these consumers. So they'll be bringing out lots of policies regarding that, and the interest rate also. It's not just about the single individuals. Even for the bank are supposed to maintain certain amount, and for example ICIC bank, they are supposed to, in the bank they're supposed to have a certain amount of liquid rate, liquid amount of money with them, and sometimes that will be increased and decreased, but dependent upon the situation, what the economy needs and what the economy demands. And stock market or the equities aggregate of buyers and sellers of stocks and all, and debentures and all. So this is not important for your this civil service pertinent. And probably your prelims, certain questions will be there for stock market, but like your mains perspective, I don't think anything will be related to that. And business cycle is actually fluctuations in aggregate production trade, and what happens going on and on about the same thing, like we said, because of recession, the people will be laid off from job. So what happened is purchasing power will decrease, and what happened, money wouldn't be circulating in the economy, and what happens, the price will go down, and when the price will go down, again this thing will keeping on repeating, and it'll go on and about and about. And the business cycle is the downward and upward movement of levels of gross domestic product and refers to a period of expansion and contractions in levels of economic activities. During the session, the activities will be contraction, and when we are in a very equilibrium state, it will be expanding. So depending upon that, only the everything will keep on. One thing will affect the other, and the other will keep on. It's totally dominance effect here in economics. And these fluctuations occur around a long-term growth trend and typically involve shift over time between periods of relatively rapid economic growth, an expansion of boom, and a period of relative stagnations or decline or contraction of recession. And exchange rate is between two currencies rate. For example, here we're talking about dollar and India, and I think it is 67 rupees per dollar. If I'm wrong, just correct me, okay? I'm not sure. I think it's below 70 rupees, if I remember. Uh, and it is also regarded as the value of one country's currency in terms of another country. What is the value of our country's currency is being taken into consideration. And generally, as a global economy, dollar is being taken into as a marker and governs the terms on which international trade investment takes place. Nominal exchange rate is the rate at which monies of different countries can be exchanged for one another. Real exchange rate is the rate at which goods and services produced in different countries can be exchanged for one another. Nominal is regarding the money, real is regarding the products and services. And yes, again, the importance of macroeconomics. And yes, the last one, limitations of macroeconomics, is excessive generalization. They are not concerned about what individual, for example, the same potatoes and all. So all of a sudden, the economists are finding that one day it's 100 rupees, the next is 2 rupees, the other day it's 1000 rupees. So for that, they have to go into the each individual psychology, that what happens in each farmer's mind, that okay, when one farmer finds out that the other farmer garnered lots of revenue because of potato, they'll be starting having. So since it is excessive generalization, it will be difficult to know what happens, what goes about in each individual spectrum. And obsessions of aggregate approaches, and that is they are non-homogeneous in character. Everything as a whole is taken into consideration, but we know that it's very much heterogeneous. For example, the spectacles example I said, the government will be computing not just one single, for example, the name of the spectacles is it's Turbo. Okay, I'm not sure Turbo is the name of the model or the name of the manufacturer. I'm just sorry. But I'll just take that Turbo is the manufacturer of the spectacles. They won't say Turbo's turnover per year. They'll be just taking into consideration of whole spectacles. But the problem is that each company will be having their own, each, like for example, each human is different from the one another. Turbo will be concentrating more on anti-glare spectacles. The other will be, concentrating more on foreign based consumers. So each one's limitations or each one's specifications will be different from the other. But the problem is that government, since they are generalizing the whole issue, they cannot get into the grassroots level and find the problems and help them out. And fallacy of deductive inferences, that is to respect to units, that for instance a general rise in price may not affect all sections of community in the same manner. For example, if we say the same recession example of this corona pandemic, we are having recession, but just because certain people or certain areas of people are having recession doesn't mean that everyone is having. And since the government will be doing lots of policy and scheme, it will be given out for everyone. And since the other one, the advantages people, they're all already the advantage are the advantage, and when they already again getting these schemes and policies, they'll again boom. So again there will be lots of disparities and all. So those problems and also lots of loopholes are also there, and inconsistency between overall and individual changes, and that For example, the industrial output and fall in prices of agricultural products may offset each other to lead to no rise in general prices. On the basis of stability of general price level, one who believes that no policy change is called for the circumstance would certainly jeopardize cultivators' interest. And problems of measurements of aggregate is that in many cases, measurement of aggregate involves serious problem. You will learn more about yes, and yes, same thing is that in short, macroeconomics is very much important for our economy, very much important for a nation to formulate all these, policies and schemes. But the problem is that since it is generalizing it, and we know that India is a nation having lots of diversities, lots of variants. So for those reasons, it will be very much difficult for us to, to focus on each levels and understand them and to know what is the reason regarding that. For example, in inflation, it is totally impossible to know, totally impossible to curb inflation. The reason is that we cannot. It's practically impossible for generally, hugely densely populated place like India. We cannot just get into each one's or each community as such and then understand the mitigation reasons and reasons that led to it and then try to curb it. So, macroeconomics, this is a concept of macroeconomics, and this is just a normal concept of what macroeconomics is all about. So, definition of macroeconomics was demonstrated in today's class, and nothing much. I just taught you what macroeconomics is, and I really hope that I was able to convey what macroeconomics is all about. And that's it for today's class. And tomorrow we'll be continuing again on economics. And tomorrow until Friday, we'll be having economics class, and after that, you tell me a subject, and I'll be taking that. So that's it for today's class, and I really hope I was able to convey myself to you all. And if you have any doubts or any queries regarding the same, just do leave that in the comment section or in the live chat box because I'm about to end the session.